Bags here once again, and today's video is going to be about how I transfer power between my shop system and my house system and vice versa. Basically, I have a chargeverter on each end and then a couple contactors controlling when the power goes on and off. I buried a 2-inch conduit between the shop and the house, and the reason for that was if I decide down the road I want to run just 4-aught from the shop down to the house and to just put in one large inverter system up at the shop, then I could just feed power from the shop down to the house. Currently I just have 10 gauge wire in it. It was cheap, what the heck, and I ain't gonna bother with the chargeverter. So if you like what you see here, hit the like and subscribe button. I got more content coming, and let's get started. So when I trenched in for my PV wire, I also trenched in all the way down to my house, and I put this 2-inch conduit in here, and then I pulled 4 10 gauge wires with the ground in it. Now this pair here will feed power from the house. It'll be connected to a 30 amp breaker in the panel down there. This one here comes from the breaker up here in this 100 amp panel, and that'll feed power to here, and that'll feed power down to the house, and there's a chargeverter down there. Okay, I got a chargeverter plug here, and of course, you saw I mounted my chargeverter. This panel here was the one I was using for a combiner, and then I changed my mind and went to a 125 amp panel, so I just reused it. Pulled out the 3/4 inch conduit that ran over to the welder outlet over here and put in 1 inch, and then ran a 4 gauge wire in here for 100 amp service. Took the 60 amp breaker out of the panel here and put it here, and put a 100 amp breaker in its place. And then I just used this 60 here and ran down for my welder outlet over here. So I keep my welder outlet over here. I actually use that welder outlet more than you think because it's by the door. So to control the contactors here, I just put a gland here, and then I'm using a set of Shelly smart plugs so I can control it with my phone anywhere I'm at. These are old microwave cords I had laying here in a pile, and I said, hey, that won't work good. So free stuff's always the best, right? So I'm not too concerned about voltage drop, being I'm using the chargeverter. I think that's part of the deal here. And probably only be charging at 2,000 watts or transferring power at 2,000 watts from here down to there, or vice versa. But, we'll see how it goes. Usually you run a chargeverter, although they're rated for 5,000 watts. Usually EG4 recommends 4,000 watts max, 80% capacity. So I'm sure I'm not ever going to run over 4,000 watts. So anyway, that's the heart of the system. And I got to finish wiring in on the other end on the house, and then I can switch it on and see how it works. This is the cover from the junction box here, where power comes from the shop system down into the house for the chargeverter circuit. And of course it gets labeled, so in case somebody ever comes to work on it later, they know to look for another source of power. And the outlet will get also labeled, so that way everything's covered. So I did get this all together. I got my cover on my fuse box, and of course labeled my breakers. They're also labeled here on the door. Use my printer again. Print up a label here and make sure that's all labeled. I do need to put one on the outlet, I suppose, because we have power from another source. Got my PV label there. On my grid box here, I think I'm going to add a welder outlet up here, and that way I can plug a welder off a grid, like my TIG or something, But then I'm going to use a short jumper cord from up here down to my chargeverter cord, because I have it all tied up there. And that way I can charge directly off grid if I want, and I highly doubt I will, but you never know. So yeah, I just used some cable clamps and tied it all up there. It runs down. When we get down here, I just put a couple of glands in the end here, mounted some post here. Went ahead and ran my positive here. Comes down to my Lynx bus bar, and of course I had to drill another hole in here, so I had to take the cover all off, and I put tape all up in here so I didn't have any shavings get down on my Lynx, because I couldn't drill it with the cover on it. So I'm like, well, whatever, The negative cable runs that behind and comes down here to the smart shunt, and then I went on this side of it, and that way when I'm charging, it goes back through this way. That way it keeps an accurate state of charge and keeps track of my current going through there. So I've been using it for quite a bit. I was kind of surprised. I've been actually using it, a lot of times around 3,000 watts, and I actually transfer power a lot of times each way, depending on which one needs state of charge. The biggest problem I've had has been the Shelly smart plugs here. I got this big metal box here, and course, it's blocking the Wi-Fi from the router. So I'm either going to have to move the router up higher, which is going to be the first step, or I'll end up taking these cords out, putting cords over the other side of the box, and putting a couple outlets over there. And that way I can control it. I mean, usually it's got good connection, but every now and then I've been running into trouble, and I'm pretty certain it's Wi-Fi because I had a different Shelly smart plug here on the house, and then I had trouble with that one, so then I put this one in there, and I took that other one and plugged it over by the router, and it's never lost connection. And here yesterday, the one for the house lost connection while it was running. So turn it on and off. You can hit the button there, or you can use the Shelly app. I mean, it works really good. I've been pretty impressed. Voltage drop hasn't been an issue. I'll show a video here I did down in the house when I was getting that all installed. And other than that, it's been a pretty good setup. I'm pretty impressed. So if you need to transfer power in between two different systems, this works really well. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So we're approaching 11 o'clock here. I've been running the Chargeverter for about 2 hours. I first started out at 50 amps and then went around, checked everything, and I'd run it for a few minutes last night, but I wanted it to be around so I could check everything, making sure all my connections are tight, and this and that. So that's all good to go. The Chargeverter doesn't care about the voltage drop of the 10 gauge wire. I'm running 240 feet from the shop here down to the house. And I suppose there's another 20 feet probably from where it comes into the house. So you're looking at 260 feet on 10 gauge wire, But I'm only running, this is 240 volts, you run your Chargeverter at, so at around 4,000 watts, you're looking at 17 amps, per leg, and of course, it's 10 gauge wire, so it's rated for, 30 amps. Really, you shouldn't see any heating on the wire, you're not really running at capacity. But it's working really well. I've got 4,000 watts coming from the shop, and then I got both charge controllers going here, and we should be hitting peaks on here pretty soon. So, it's definitely pouring it in there. I started out at 52%, and I'm already up close to 80% here in less than 2 hours. And the idea is here I need to get my cells all up close to full charge because I'm going to swap out 16 cells in the Batrium bank and put in some new 280 amp hour version 3s in their place. So yeah, working really well. I mean, the Chargeverter doesn't care about that voltage drop down the wire, and you're not loading it down to full ampacity on the wire, so it's working really well. I probably will try and get some photos later or some video later on down there. It's pretty noisy down there. The charge controllers of course are running, and furnace is running, so it's not a good situation for doing video, but I'll get some video of the install and show you that later. So when I put the Chargeverter in here, I just connected here to my bus bars here in my box here that comes off my charge controllers. Drill a couple holes in there and put a couple glands in it. I got lucky, I put one cable in there, so that'll handle 285 amps. And then if you ever wondered what it looked like inside of here, I just took that plastic box, put it up against there, and put a couple holes in it, and connected there the cables of the bus bar. So, Chargeverter is up here, and I just used some uni-strut, a couple T-nuts, and that, and then I just fastened my cables here, and then tied them all the way down. And then up top here, I got an outlet, and plugged it in there. So, this part's all done. Made sure I tied the cable up at top, so it gives the cord relief. Same thing here, I got cord relief. So, anyway, down here I have the 16 cells I pulled out, and I'll have that in another video. But today, yep, Chargeverter worked good. I seen as high as 12.5 kilowatts. You're looking at 235 amps going in the battery. So, yeah, I doubt I'll ever run it that hard again. I did have some trouble with the Shelly, lost communication when I wanted to turn it off. So, I got to look into that and see what's going on there. So, the rest of my cells all showed up. I got everything in here. I'm up to a total of 114 kilowatt hours. Okay. And believe me, if you get this down to 50% and you only have 8,800 watts of panels there to charge it up, it takes a while. So, that Chargeverter comes in handy. I did finally finish up my communication cables, my BMS. I just ran some raceway up here and ran it out there, and it's through my, of course, my chase nipple. And originally I was going to plan on putting an extension up here, but you know, I just tied them on up here and that worked really well. So that's all done. And then here on the end, I got my panel done here. So that's pretty impressive. You know, we got 8 BMSs, 8 screens. I have my button to turn them off. If you hold it down for 3 seconds, it'll turn it off. You hit the button again, it'll turn back on. So, you know, I mounted that up here. I just used some Unistrut. I painted it white. That way it got me away from the cabinets. Got to clear my compression bolts in the middle here. And it also gave me room to run my wires. Just fastened it down here with a stainless bolt, T-nut. So, use stainless hinges at the top here. And I used some fender washers, of course, to space it off and stuff. So had to clip the fender washers off in order to get a flat side on them, you know, so I can get them both to fit there. But that worked out really well. Originally I planned on using aluminum, and I even bought a piece of aluminum, and then I changed my mind, and you know, somebody mentioned to me, hey, you know, it looked pretty good if you made it white. You know, I said, well, yeah, it did. It turned out really nice, don't you think? So, yeah, the whole thing's been really impressive here. Basically, I'm running the shop here off grid, and it's been over a month, and the only thing that's on grid yet is the air compressor, and, you know, I might only run that, you know, a couple of days a week, you know, if I need air for something or other, you know. But, yeah, if you like what you see here, hit the like and subscribe button. I got more content coming, and catch some rays, and we'll see you later.